just kind of this crazy youthful optimism we have.
I remember the first time we played music together.
Within one fill-in, I was like, oh, that's our guy. Yeah.
I think those are the pinch me moments.
Like, it made me feel like, okay, some people know what we're trying to say.
It is such an incredibly big decision forming a band,
Yeah.
or at least it certainly is in hindsight
Staying in a
for you
band,
guys.
yeah.
Yes. So what was it that you saw in the guys that you were like, okay, these are the three people that, in a way, I want to
Yeah.
spend the rest of my life with?
Well, 4 if you include Phil, who doesn't
Yes.
play anything, which we do
yes,
include.
yes.
Well, so I already knew Phil. I already felt like we were meant to do something together. He was like my captain, and still is. And that's what he was. He was my in the sports team. He was my captain.
Wow.
And then when I went to London, I met first I met Will on a bus. Then I met Guy, and we didn't click at all. We didn't like each other.
Really?
I don't know why. But then we realized that we had the same keyboard called a Fender Rhodes,
Yeah.
and then we fell in love.
Mm.
And Johnny, who was the first person I played music with, I would just be in the same room as him a lot with people, and he never really would speak, but you could just feel this sweetness. And then I saw him play guitar, and I had a sort of rom-com meet cute.
Meet cute, yeah.
Yeah, well, I was just like, oh my God, I think this is my person.
Wow.
Really, really that simple.
Do you remember the first moment you met Chris, and do you feel like it was love at first sight?
I don't remember the first time I met him, but I remember the first time we played music together.
Okay.
And then that was the moment. It's like, oh, that's quite a lot better than everything I've ever done before.
Wow.
So in the moment, I thought, oh, I'll try hanging out with him a lot more.
It's paid off. I think it's safe to say. I don't know if this is true. I've heard different kind of versions of you joining the band, right? One version that I really like was that it was actually your roommate was supposed to join or was supposed to audition,
Yeah.
and then he didn't turn up.
That's right.
Is that actually what happened?
That is exactly
and then,
what
and you
happened, yeah.
already were a drummer, or you were like,
not really.
how
no.
hard could it be? I can count to 4.
Well, actually, there's 2 slight tweaks to that story. One is that, there was a 4-track. The guys had done 3 tracks of a 4-track recording to send into radio stations, and then needed some drums on it. And so my roommate had some drums. We set them up, and then the roommate disappeared. And then there was another guy who was who was a drummer in a band of my other roommate. He was around, so
It's a very musical household.
he played on one of the songs. Then he had to go. So then there was one more song that needed drums on it, and so I just said I'd give it a go, because I was literally the last person left the last chicken in the shop.
Just looking around.
Yeah.
Huh? Me?
Yeah. No,
Wow.
I had played the drums, but I wasn't. I would by no means call myself a drummer.
It was just a feeling with each of them. I liked them as people, of course, first, but then as each one joined the Lego of the band, as it were, it just felt like, oh, that's the person.
Yeah, and it took shape into...
Yeah, and with Will wasn't even a drummer, and he just happened to be in the room when we needed a drum beat on a demo.
Yeah,
And
he told us.
Yeah, and so that within one fill-in, I was like, oh, that's our guy.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I feel my heart underneath my skin. I feel my heart beating. 'Cause you make me feel.
A video was recently brought to our attention from 1998 of Chris being kind of interviewed at the Y Agricultural Farmers Fair or something, and he was talking about how, mark my words, in 4 years,
Coldplay or the band, whatever they're called then, will be known just all over, man. We're so
did you share that level of optimism at the beginning?
Yeah, it was completely wild. It was just kind of this crazy youthful optimism we had. But I mean, I think we all were 100% determined and dedicated to doing what we needed to do, to make some kind of success as a band or in the music industry. And of course we had lofty ambitions of being, playing in stadiums or whatever. That was always kind of like, wow, that looks fun, and that's
Yeah.
where we need to get to. To be honest, we just kind of did what needed to be done.
I think right from the beginning, we felt like the music that we were making was really good, and we really believed in it. And so I think whilst you never really think that things like what happened to us is going to happen, you hope that it will, and you aim towards it, because there's no point in aiming to just be kind of
Yeah.
mediocre.
We want to sell out pubs in Worthing.
Well, I guess whatever it is, we were quite good at setting ourselves goals, and Chris is a great list writer, and it was always about checking things off. And every time we finished a list, we'd write a longer one or a bigger one, or something that had more lofty ambitions.
Wow.
So yeah, but the first lists were modest, but it was all things that were a stretch, but they were achievable if we worked hard and if we put the
That's
time
amazing.
in. So it was definitely a concerted effort, and we were
Yeah.
all pushing in the same direction.
We'll be singing Pariah. Pray that we make it to the end of the day. And so we pray.
25 years later.
27.
Well, I suppose,
now.
yeah, of course.
28.
Yeah. You're still together.
Yeah, very much so.
You're going strong. You've just completed a record-breaking run at Wembley. And I want to talk a little bit about your live shows, because one of the things that comes across when I spoke to the guys, and obviously just from seeing the show, is how important the live element is
Yeah.
to you as a band and to all of you as individuals, and the way you bring that to life. And one of the things that's now become so synonymous with you are the amazing wristbands. But you started doing things like that at a time when, I mean, were you the first people to start incorporating like wristbands with lights and making the audience part of the show in that way? Because that was back in the Milo tour,
Yes,
wasn't it?
we were the first. I'll tell you why. Because so much of our life revolves around the West Country and Glastonbury, and a man called Jason, who designed sex toys.
Yes.
Rather, he designed small batteries for sex toys.
Right.
He was at Glastonbury in 2008 or something like that, maybe the year Jay-Z played, and he had an idea for these wristbands. And to cut a long story short, we're the people that he ended up telling us about them.
Yeah.
And we said, we'll take them.
Yeah.
And so the first wristbands ever we tried in Madrid, and they could only work at a specific time all at once. So we had to start
very
the show. No,
binary.
we wanted them in a song called Paradise, which we were playing for the first time. Or maybe another song, but Paradise or Every Teardrop is a Waterfall. And so we had to go on stage at like 8:17 to make sure that 9:12 these wristbands are going to come on in the middle of this song.
Wow. So
So-
it
and-
wasn't a button. They were going to happen.
No,
They were
they
going
were
to go off,
happening, yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Wow.
'Cause you're a sky, oh, you're a sky full of stars. And 'cause you light up my heart. I see my brother.
That kind of relationship with technology, I feel like on this tour has kind of gone to a whole new level with the sustainability angle, with everything from the wristbands and how they're made and constructed, and there's power being generated from kinetic plates and stuff on the floor. How exciting for you is it to be part of a band that is taking the sustainability thing like seriously to the point where it's actually utilizing like cutting edge technology?
Yeah. Well, it's really exciting because it's just showing that it can be done. And I think now, we've introduced things which are kind of repeatable for anyone else who wants to use them. And in fact, for these shows, we've just kind of put online a solar farm in Somerset. So that's feeding all of the energy to power these Wembley shows.
No way. What? So how you and that's the energy. It's just being.
Yeah, we're not
cable-
using
or
any
you-
generators on this.
But you charging batteries from that?
Yeah, essentially,
Wow.
yes, exactly.
Okay.
That's what we're using now.
Well, I mean, in the time that you guys have been going, there must have been so many kind of pinch me moments. But what kind of occasions give you those moments? Is it, I can't believe I'm getting to work with this artist, or is it, I can't believe I'm getting to perform at this place? What are the things that spring to mind for you?
I think sometimes when you play with an artist that you have sort of loved and has been a kind of iconic presence in your life, that so much so that you don't actually think they're real, you know. And then you play a song with them. Like we did it with Bruce Springsteen a couple of years ago, and it was quite a strange feeling. I don't think I've ever had that feeling before. It's like, is this real?
What was he like? Did he
was
make you call
lovely.
him
He
the
was
boss?
No, he was lovely. He's amazing, but he's an amazing guitarist. He's unbelievable. Like his timing is
Yeah.
just incredible.
Obviously, the Wembley tour. I mean, it almost feels like it's been a tour at Wembley, right? 10.
Not to me.
No. But just in terms of the intensity of that many shows back to back. But I was talking to.
Yes, you're right. It does. I mean, a normal leg of our tour these days is 10 or 12 shows. So it was a leg of a tour.
Yeah. And what do you find? Because one of the things that Johnny was saying was that the thing that he misses most when he's touring in these big stadiums, obviously they're amazing venues to play, but a lack of windows. You know, the dressing rooms, you're often within the bowels of a big building. What do you miss most when you're
I don't miss anything.
You're in your happy place.
Happy place is what, I'm in my soul place, meaning I'm doing what I know I'm supposed to be doing, which is, I'm sure any of you in this room, that when you feel like you're doing your purpose, even if there's so much craziness happening in the rest of your life, you feel like, well, at least I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing today.
I'm exactly where
Which
I
I'm
should
so
be.
privileged to have that. So many people in the world never get the chance to even find their true calling, let alone do it. So I'm so aware how lucky I am, and I'm also in the right place. That's what we do, and the songs that come to me or come to us, come through, they need to be performed. So it all just feels like, okay, I'm not wasting my time today.
Because you guys are in a pretty unique position where I guess anything is possible, right? Like, you've worked with the sorts of artists that you want to work with. You can do things like, when I was at the show in Wembley, you can bring out a Hollywood actor in Simon Pegg to come and just play tambourine.
Yes.
Which I'd be worried if I was. Had you given him some coaching?
No, it's not the first time he has his own tambourine.
Well, that saves on cost,
backstage.
doesn't it? That saves on budget. That's good.
No, he's a serial percussionist, and he's a very safe pair of hands.
Right. Yeah.
We knew what we were getting into with Simon. It's but also those. I mean, we've known Simon for a long time, since before he was a Hollywood star, and since before we were, playing shows like this as we did in Wembley. So it's nice to be able to still have connections with our friends from before, and invite them to kind of come and join the crazy journey with us.
BTS. So I didn't know who BTS were, and someone said, "Oh, Jin from BTS, they want you to do a song for them." And I was sort of like, haha. Then I started to look at who BTS are, and I really liked it. And then my goddaughter, Tilly Pegg, Simon's daughter, was an army, so she was obsessed with BTS. So I called her. No, that's the second bit. So I had it in my head, BTS asked us for a song like that. That could never work. Maybe we could give them a song if the song comes through. And then one day I was listening to, occasionally our songs come from, we'll work with a producer or someone who's got a bit of music they don't know what to do with. It's happened like three or four times in 25 years. And I'll start hearing a song on top of this loop of music. And a guy called Bill Rocco, who we worked with, had a loop of music, and I started to hear, you are my unit. So I said, "Oh, do you mind, can you get a writing credit on this? And please, can we use that?" He said, "Yeah, okay." And this whole song came through, and because I don't speak Korean, I was hearing kind of fake Korean, but I was hearing that sort of cadence from listening to Psy, you know.
Yeah.
Knowing his music, I was like, well, to me, Korean sounds a bit like this. So I put in these kind of fake verses.
Yeah.
and it felt really good. And the song was very clearly about what we're talking about overcoming division. as a love song, but really as a bigger picture too, in terms of people say we can't be together, Romeo and Juliet or whoever. And then I thought, well, this is an amazing thing to do for Coldplay and BTS because
Yeah.
no one
Would
thinks that's
yeah.
going to work or should work or is allowed. You know, we're an NME band and they're a pop
yeah.
sensation. And that made it really exciting to me.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for being out there. Let's go, Jay.
Obviously, you are an amazing guitarist.
That
now,
is debatable.
Well,
Thank you.
This is because one of the things that I love about you guys as a band, right, is how modest you all are. Like you are all you.
I think we're realistic.
No, but that's you perform without ego, okay, and you write songs without ego, and everything is like the talent kind of speaks for itself. When I was doing a bit of research before chatting to you, the first video that comes up on YouTube is from like a really big guitar blog with two really well-known guitarists, and the video is just called "Why Is Johnny Buckland So Cool?" But I think they meant as a guitarist. If you don't want to just sit and answer,
Yeah, so, well, I think that being somewhat technically limited is helpful in some ways because you do not overcomplicate things when it is not necessary to do so. I think often, if you're really, really good, the tendency is to play a lot of notes when most of the time, I mean, it's not always, sometimes it's amazing, but a lot of the times it's better if you play a bit less.
yeah.
When I first started playing in the band, I would try and write really, really complicated things, and then it's not really working. So I'd take some stuff out, and then take some more stuff out, and then you'd end up with like 2 notes. And be like, oh, that's better. And so I think somewhere where that works is like a song called "In My Place," which has literally
That's on my little list of
2
ones
notes
that,
in the riff.
but like it's so distinctively you. Do you know what I mean? Like there's certain sounds and certain songs that you just it just conjures up what kind of like the essence of Coldplay, those guitar sounds.
Well, thank
of
you,
yours.
but I think maybe no one else dares be so idiotically simplistic.
'Cause in the sky, oh, in the sky, full of stars, think it's of you.
I heard that the majority of the sort of sound behind the inspiration behind the sound on X and Y was inspired by a very specific synth. I'm going to say this from memory: the Yamaha CX80.
The CS80.
CS80. Yeah, and that you were like the only person who would know how to like get a tune out of that synth. So in a way, the whole of X and Y is all down to you and your love of synths.
Yeah, well, it sounds really cool, so I'll go along with it. We did have a CS80, which is like a big fat synthesizer that was sort of famously used by Brian Eno and some other people. It's very difficult to make sounds on it, but there was a lot of so we did have that kicking around the album. A lot of the sounds came from this big Korg Triton that Chris had, and also it was really the advent of like plug-in synthesizers on laptops. So there was quite a lot of plugins happening on that album as well.
Do you still get kind of pinch me moments when you're kind of, if you're looking out and you see that Tom Cruise is in the crowd, or you're going to work with an artist that you've never worked with before, but has been on your. What was the most recent kind of?
Well, I think for me it's more about the experiences of playing live. I think those are the pinch me moments when you suddenly realise that a song that we wrote and recorded, I don't know, like for example in Yellow, the song Yellow, 25 years ago, is resonating with 85,000 people at Wembley Stadium, and there are people
10 nights, 85,000.
and people who weren't born when that song was written. That's really when I get the sort of those moments, because it's really staggering. And as much as we sometimes I find the way that the music, the way that we make, the way that people consume music these days is very different to what it was when I grew up. And sometimes I find that hard to grapple with. But what is undoubtedly the case is that that people have access to, young people have access to so much music now, and so many of the sort of barriers that we used to put up as music fans and musicians just have sort of melted away now, and all those things that used to seem so precious, the difference between different genres, and you can't like that and like that, or you can't say you like this, and that's just all disappeared, and we've benefited from it so much. Just when we look out to an audience of ours, and there are people who are our parents' age, you know, in their 70s and 80s, and then there are you know, people who they have great grandkids who are with them, and they're enjoying the show, and everyone in between, and so that's really the thing that makes it so worthwhile for me.
How do you want Coldplay to be? I mean, obviously, here's to another 25 years, but how do you want Coldplay to be remembered?
Good question. I think what this tour has done is has kind of it's created a feeling and a sense of unity within the audience, which is really special and quite unique, I think. And I think that's probably what we will be remembered for is our shows now, actually, on the back of this tour. But of course, you know, if there's songs that are kind of particularly meaningful to people and or have helped them through certain periods of their time, whether it be happy or sad or whatever, then I think that's, you know, that's enough for me.
I think if you're given a gift, which you all are, but if you're lucky enough to be able to do it like we've been able to, you hope that it will reach the people it's meant to reach and help them or make them feel something that improves the day a bit, or makes them feel happier to be themselves, therefore more accepting of other people being themselves. But also I don't mind if we're just in a bargain bin in a service station in 10 years.
I really just hope that people have had a nice time coming to our concerts and have some good memories of our music. It's really quite simple.
Yeah. It's interesting because the other guys have said similar things about the experience that people have at the shows.
Yeah.
Has that kind of always been at the forefront of how you guys have seen yourselves as a band, or how you've seen Coldplay as primarily as a live experience?
I don't think that's always been the case. I think it grew and has become more so over the last couple of years, over this last tour especially. I think it's like sort of make sense of the past now through the lens of playing live, you know. So I think that's become what we feel we are.
But I think what we want to do now really is we realise that this is what we're here for. In this crazy time we're living in, is to provide a couple of hours where people can forget that stuff and all the differences kind of melt away, and that people are able to sit alongside thousands of other people who they might not agree with about things, or they might have differing views on stuff, but for those couple of hours just to be in the same place as lots of other people, and to sing and to dance and to be happy. So that's what I hope for, is that people remember that that feeling of when they came to one of our shows and things just were nice for a couple of hours.
One thing I wanted to touch on was a really special moment at the last gig at Wembley, when a member of the audience had basically got a viral idea going, where the audience brought red hearts and held them up.
Yeah, that made me cry.
That's what I wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah.
So did you know that was going to happen? Because there's great footage of you guys and you're welling up. And it's beautiful.
I'll tell you why. Well, everything becomes a negative story at this point, and it's even if it's not negative, because that's clickable. But even within the negative headline, there might be something positive. So here's what I'm going to say. I did get a little shaken recently, because almost every time that I've said anything that we really believe in terms of equality, empathy, the things that I believe will help humans more than criticism or aggression or genocide or terrorism. I don't think those really work long term. You know, they've somehow become viral negatively, like a group of people is angry. But because I want to love all people, I'm not angry with those people who are angry at me, but I was starting to get a bit like, oh, do I have to stop saying that we welcome people from all? I thought, no, I'm never going to stop that. And if that upsets people, well, I love those people too, so I can't do anything. And I think because we were in our hometown, just at the end of the run was emotional, and there'd been some controversy for a viewpoint that is very uncontroversial.
Yeah.
But I think when that happened at the end, it was, I don't know, it was almost like our audience understanding what we're trying to say. Yeah, I think that's what, I don't know, it's getting me now.
Yeah.
Like, it made me feel like, okay, some people know what we're trying to say.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. 'Cause you're a sky